play of James White throwing a pass to Edelman, or to Jacoby Myers. So who's going to be the guy? And I'm hoping that it's going to be N'Keal Harry, who can maybe have a little bit of a threat running down the field.
And that's the thing. And I've never been someone who has like always salivated for a deep threat. Oh, like the Brandon Cooks type. I mean, Moss was obviously a once in a lifetime player, arguably, even if you don't want to say the greatest wide receiver, the most talented wide receiver of all time. But it's not something that's been a staple of the Patriots offense. The Patriots offense has been focused and founded and so successful based on precision. And the problem is I know you don't want to admit this, but I think you obviously have to. Brady isn't what he used to be. That doesn't mean he's not good. It doesn't mean he can't become great in high leverage moments.
Yep.
But the problem is when you need to string together 8, 9, 10, 12 play drives in order to march down the field. And you can never, ever get a 30, 40-yard chunk. That is so much margin for error.
Yep.
It is so much grind and wear and tear on a 42-year-old quarterback and a 33-year-old slot receiver who's been hit and banged up and beaten like a rag doll, and you have nothing else. And Philip Dorsett, he was so good at the beginning of the year, but he's 5'10", 180 pounds, soaking
and
wet.
And then he got a concussion, and then he just turned to shit.
Exactly. He's small. Everyone's small except N'Keal Harry. But that's the thing. And you need someone, like you said, to be able to, I don't want to call it an outside the numbers guy. I don't want to call it a deep threat, but someone who can catch a 15-yard in route.
Yeah.
And someone who can run a seam, and someone who can just do these things to at least keep a defense on their toes. I almost want to bring it to basketball, and I'm a big Ben Simmons fan because of his skill set. But when you have your point guard who you know will not take a shot outside of 6 feet, it allows the defense to kind of sit back. And then that affects every other player on your team because you have an extra roaming defender. Same exact thing with the Patriots. The spacing. There's no spacing. Everything's tight, close. You have to be even more precise. And that's why Brady's slight decline is magnified because he has no margin for error because you have to be so precise on every single pass or else that's it.
Yeah, the Patriots offense became, let's throw to Julian Edelman and hope he can get it done. And really, you can't say, going into or basically what the season came down to. Sure, we have Edelman, we have White, and what's your next spec? You would probably go to Burkhead after that in terms of a passing threat. It goes Edelman, it goes White. And then, who's left? A tight end that has a torn Achilles. But the only reason the 2018 Patriots were able to win the Super Bowl is because their offensive line just turned it on, and they're like, okay, well, we can't get that 30-yard chunk play, but we can run it for 6 yards, and then we can run it another time for 6 yards, and then we can go play action and get a wide-open Edelman, and there's our chunk play of 20. Because the linebackers reacted up, you threw it Edelman to a crosser, and then he could pick up 20 yards. Instead of, all right, well, shit, here we go. I got White next to me in the backfield. Edelman, run somewhere over the middle, and I'll try and hit you. And then, sure, he hits him, and then the next play, Edelman will drop it, and then, it goes to shit. So, but David Andrews, if he can come back, and if James Devlin gets healthy, you're starting to look at a pretty dominant run offensive line and fullback. There you go.
That's true. But again, to kind of get back to this, again, I'm not someone who needs the DK Metcalf physically imposing. But we're 3 inches taller than, or I don't know exactly how tall Edelman is. I don't know if you've met him. But we're 2 to 3 inches taller than our top 3 receiving targets, who are Edelman, White, and Dorsett. We were from last year. When us average white guys who aren't super tall are considerably taller than the leading passing options on a Super Bowl contender, that's just not a recipe for success. I'm sorry. You need to have some size.
I completely agree. I don't care if it's a tight end or I don't care if it's a bigger wide receiver. I like what you said. Give me someone who can run right down the seam, man. And Chris Hogan worked perfectly for that. And now
Chris Hogan's only 6'1".
What?
Chris Hogan's only 6'1".
It doesn't matter, but he could run that.
Yeah.
He could
Yeah,
run
but I'm
it
saying
somehow.
he's not 5'9". I'm saying he's not 5'9".
No, exactly. Yeah. So
We
hopefully
don't need 6'7". We just need like 6 foot, 6'1", 6'2".
I know. Hopefully we can find someone in the draft. Man, I'm telling you, I saw a latest mock draft projection of Jerry Jeudy falling to the Patriots. Man, would you be jumping for joy if we got him in the first round or what?
Again, I'm not big into college sports, so I can't really say much. But I mean, looking at him, 6'1", 193, good size, 4'4", 40, not bad.
Yeah, they Irvin said he's Mr. Smooth running. He said he looks like a really good natural runner, catches the ball in stride. I like him. Played.
But what's his Wonderlic? Did they give him that?
Oh man, I don't know if those been released yet.
I don't know.
What do you think you'd score on that?
I don't know.
I'd go for a solid 15.
I've actually never taken it before. Is it more of like natural intelligence or is it football intelligence?
It's like natural intelligence.
Oh, that off the charts. Off the charts.
Oh my God. Pat McAfee, I think, talked about his Wonderlic score, and he was in the 98th percentile. He got a 37, and I think McAfee says he has like a photographic memory, and I think that was why he did so well. But McAfee's a genius. We all know that. So,
I mean, if it comes to Kirk Cousins, then that would be like 99.9 percentile for me.
So I'm going to let you talk about that. You called it a couple months ago. Kirk Cousins, he made the news. You can go crazy. You can talk about it.
Yeah, he signed a 2-year, $66 million extension, 40 something I think of which is guaranteed, which puts him at like 3 years, 96 overall, or 3 years, 90, so something right around there. But it gives them $10 million extra cap space this year, and then you can always renegotiate down the road. Stephon Diggs has been really active on Twitter, even more so than usual. He's saying, "Oh, because someone said, oh, you always pull this stuff," and he goes, "Well, this is for real this time." Again, I don't give a crap about Stephon Diggs. To me, he is Brandon Cooks, and I was never a Brandon Cooks guy. Nice player to have, but again, I would love to see Kirk. Again, with Washington, Pierre Garçon and Jordan Reed were always much more valuable as an observer than Deshaun Jackson was. And Stephon Diggs is that Deshaun Jackson type. That he's not big, but he's a deep field threat, and I'm not big into those speedsters. I don't want my number one threat to be a 5'10" skinny guy. It's just not what I would personally like to build my team around in order to win in the playoffs. So I would love the Vikings, get what you can for him. It'll be interesting to see what trade market he would have, considering what Hopkins went for. But again, we'll see. But Kirk, like I said, saving his team money, building around him. They just re-signed C.J. Ham, which is a huge deal, very overlooked. Colquitt, they brought back their punter. They're doing a lot of similar moves to what the Patriots are doing. They're going to run it back. It'll be interesting to see what they do with Eric Kendricks. He was dynamite last year. So, again, lots of moving parts, but it's good to see Kirk giving them some flexibility. Xavier Rhodes got cut, worst quarterback in the NFL. No complaints here. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, the Vikings have it coming together. So good for Kirk Cousins getting that extension. Hopefully he continues to try and he doesn't get lazy like a lot of people do after they get their contracts.
But it's only a 2-year deal, so they're still keeping him on his toes. It's not like he's completely and knowing Kirk, knowing what kind of competitor he is, he hears all the noise, he hears everything, and it's good and it's bad because sometimes he does get in his own head, which I think happens to a lot of guys. Even Peyton Manning, I think, when the noise was getting deafening, he would kind of poop down his leg a lot. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with Kirk, but again, I don't think the Bears are that good. I don't think the Lions are that good. And I don't think the Packers are that good. So I think that division's there for the taking. The NFC, is it that strong? I think you could easily see the 49ers coming back down to earth. They traded DeForest Buckner. They're unproven because you've seen teams like the Panthers flash, and then they're good but not great. The Falcons flashed, and they're good but not great. Are the Rams that good? The
Who knows?
Seahawks are
Maybe
always
they're
there.
every other year.
Yeah, but again,
And this is
I don't
the other.
think the NFC is not the juggernaut that it seemed, I would say, last year. So, again, I think the Vikings are in as good a position as anyone else, depending on how they fill out their roster. And I don't know. I don't think Stephon Diggs is, especially at $14.5 million. I don't know.
I agree with you too, especially I think the Vikings are in good position, especially in the NFC North. Green Bay, I don't think they're sure. You always got Aaron Rodgers, but for some reason they're always like hit or miss. Like they'll either go like 13-3, or they'll have like an 8-8 year where they're clawing for the wild card, and like Aaron Rodgers has to win like 7 games in a row to get in because they start off the season like 4-7, and you're like, well, shit. And then obviously Detroit, I don't take that seriously. So, I think I think they are in pretty good position up there.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm very excited. And you know what? No matter what happens with the Pats, at least I'll have Kirk, and I'll be able to watch them. And I think I'll get at least a solid season. Double-digit wins, playoff appearance, especially now, the new playoff format. That like everything that's happened with the NFL. I mean, we've all been wrapped up with coronavirus and everything being canceled, but this NFL, these sweeping changes have kind of crept up on us in a way that would normally be talked about all over the news.
And that's a great segue right there. I actually did want to talk about that pretty briefly. The CBA was approved as of a day ago. The major changes are that there are 14 teams in the playoff, obviously 7 from each conference. That means 3 wild card winners, or 3 wild card teams in each conference, and there's only 1 team that gets a bye in each conference, and it's the number 1 seed. There's going to be a 17-game season that either begins that does begin in 2021, and it ends in, I think, the window to add 17th game begins in 2021, ends in 2023. You increase the game day roster size from 46 to 48, and you must have 8 offensive linemen. Okay, so I'm all for the 17th game, whatever. They approved it, so the players are obviously, to an extent, fine with it. Something that I don't like is the new playoff format. I really don't like having that 7th seed in there, and I liked it when the first 2 teams had byes, not just the first team, because someone could argue that the difference between first and second seed is really just tie breaks. Both teams are oftentimes pretty much neck and neck. And just to say the number 1 seed gets the bye, I don't really like that. Maybe it's because as Patriot fans, besides this past year, we're pretty much accustomed to getting a playoff bye. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I personally love adding an extra playoff team. Again, if as a Patriots fan, if it were not obviously 2019, but in 2018 when we got the 2nd seed, I don't think we win that Super Bowl if we're not the 2nd seed. And we were number 1 in 2018, if I'm correct, and in 2014. And so,
in 2014 definitely we were the number 1 seed, so that wouldn't have mattered.
2017, I'm talking. Yeah, the Eagles Super Bowl year.
We were the number 1 seed, 13-3.
Yeah, so I mean, maybe that takes away 1 Super Bowl from us, but again, I don't know if we'll be sniffing many number 1 seeds in the upcoming future, depending on what happens. So, I mean, I guess that hurts us, but either way, as an NFL fan, I'm excited. I really am, and I think the injustice of a team like the 2008 Patriots who go 11-5 missing the playoffs is a greater injustice than 1 14-2 team being the 2 seed and having to play on Wild Card Weekend. I think that's a kind of trade-off you have to make. And it's more exciting. It's more playoff games. Our playoff games are always great. Especially in the NFC, you look, I think that there's 7 or 8 really good teams. I mean, the Rams missed the playoffs. The Cowboys missed the playoffs. Those are talented squads. So I don't think there's going to be a shortage, maybe in the AFC. But either way, you can have a team get on a hot streak and have a quarterback go on a Nick Foles-like run. And look at the Titans. So again, more playoff games, more football.